Hi everyone, welcome to our last talk of the semester. This one's on gender and politics, as the preceding slide probably tipped you off. We could also add that we've never had a female president or a female vice president to the list from the preceding slide about the gap between men's and women's participation in U.S. electoral politics at the local level, at the state level, and of course at the national level. Just as a thought experiment, we have, obviously, with Hillary Clinton running on the Democratic ticket and likely to get the nomination and perhaps win the presidency in 2016, gender will be a major story. But can you imagine a world in which both of the major parties' nominees were women? What kind of a time frame would you put on that sort of achievement? And to many people, that seems like a really outlandish scenario, something that's unlikely to happen. But that just goes to show how deeply entrenched some of our cultural ideas are about women's participation in politics, especially at the highest level of U.S. politics. Look, these preceding slides and these figures are only there because there are major structural, major political, and major cultural barriers that account for the participation gap between men and women in U.S. politics, especially at the highest level. And there are some wonderful books, even classes at the College of Charleston, on these participation barriers. And hell, I mean, some professors, many professors, in fact, devote their entire careers to trying to figure out what are the structural, cultural, and political barriers that accommodate this participation gap. So I'm not going to try to address all of these here. That would be foolhardy. What I am going to try to do is to tell one particular story about one particular communication style that actually grew up well outside of electoral politics, because it grew up amongst women suffragettes, the early suffrage movement of women who were trying to get involved in politics but were disallowed from voting. And so in the 1840s, 1850s, women would speak alongside men at certain town halls, and their style of communication in public was shaped by the kind of cultural norms of their day, as I'll explain later. And so they adopted a style of public speaking that was different than men. And what ended up happening was, now in the late 20th century, 21st century, what we're finding is that what is called the feminine style, as dubbed by one scholar whose name is Carlin Campbell. Campbell's idea of the feminine style has now been co-opted by often male candidates seeking to achieve a softer image, a less combative image. And so what was once the style of women's suffrage movements has now become, in some senses, the style of presidential campaigning in particular avenues. And so we're going to explore that and a few other extraneous but related ideas over the next few slides.